Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Drea. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you. Everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
And whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Even better, all of our guests are local small business owners who you can actually talk to and work with. You can learn more about today's guest and connect with hundreds of other health and wellness professionals through our informative and easy-to-use directory at motherhoodalliance.com.
Before we get started, keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for personal healthcare advice. Please consult your healthcare provider before making any changes based on the podcast content.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Are you ready to help your family thrive? Let's get started. Hi, we are Brit and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a 4-episode series with Stephanie Bohn, a highly skilled speech-language pathologist and the founder of Rooted at Home, a Fox Cities-based therapy practice that brings speech, language, and feeding support right to where families feel most comfortable, and this would mean into their home, meeting them at parks, joining them at childcare centers, or even virtually. Stephanie holds a master's in speech-language pathology, a bachelor's in communication sciences and disorders, and is a certified lactation counselor, so she knows her stuff. But what makes Stephanie truly special is her passion to help all families have deep conversations and stress-free meal times. This passion stemmed from a deep personal experience with her grandma, which she shares about in episode 1. In our 4 episodes together, we chat about early communication tips, picky eating, how therapy doesn't have to happen in a clinic to make a big impact, and how to utilize play to help kids develop healthy communication and eating skills. On a personal level, Stephanie was born and raised here in the Fox Valley, and she finds joy in reading, biking, baking all things sourdough, and spending time with her husband. Let's welcome Stephanie to the show.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. We're super excited to have Stephanie back here in the studio. Welcome back, Steph.
Hello, and thank you.
Yeah, we have had, again, just some amazing conversations, especially in the last episode. I'd say we talked about raising picky eaters and how kind of stressful that is. We talked a whole lot about how different ways of incorporating food into your house and into their onto their plates. It was so good. And if you guys haven't listened to that, especially I would say, listen to the whole thing, but especially that second half, it just goes right into this episode that we're going to be talking about, which is all about turning the kitchen and food and preparation into play and using play as a way of, making mealtimes fun for the kids and our families. So, I guess to kind of tie in from even the first couple episodes into this one, my question here is, how is joining our kids in play such a powerful way to build a positive relationship and good habits?
Great question.
Yeah.
When you think about the mealtime experience, it's really looking at it from more than just the food, right? Like when we talked about language and communication, like it is the big picture of incorporating it all in. So we were talking earlier about like milk, right? Pick any food or drink item. Like you can talk about it. Like how are we having experiences around it? What do you want to teach your kid about it, right? So it's more than just like let's eat. It also ties in like that language component.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know incorporating, you're a big component of play-based learning and involving the whole family and especially involving the kid into whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish and help them with. And I know there's going to be a lot of different ways and tools and things that we can use even naturally that we probably already do with our kids that can help them with this, right? One example would be like a play kitchen. And it doesn't have to be like this really expensive thing. You can literally take some old pots and pans or go to the rummage sales and get something. And just
set it up on your own table.
Yeah,
like you don't even have to have.
Absolutely.
I feel like there's so many cute play kitchens now. I see in families' homes. I'm like, where'd you find this one? Where'd you find that one?
Well, even just bringing it out to the sandbox.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that can be your play kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Give them a placemat or a tablecloth and like, okay, this is your kitchen now. Like, I don't know, I'll give the example of like baking something, right? Like, okay, mama's going to mix these ingredients. Like, here's yours. Like, we don't have to have our kids' hands in raw egg or whatever you're not comfortable with, but like, what are you comfortable giving them to have them kind of be a part of that experience?
Yeah,
it is
absolutely.
interesting how kids do start out naturally doing this. Like I know when my kids are in the play in the sandbox, they would be like, come up and order something. Okay, you go up to them. What do you have today at your restaurant? Cheeseburgers and pizza and lemonade. And you're like, okay, I'll take this. And they're like, okay, be right back. How much is it? $500. Just
with a little grass on top of
wood chips.
But they build it. They put sprinkles on.
Yeah,
it is fun. So at what point are we missing the mark where it turns to not being fun when they get to come into the real kitchen? And so that's why we wanted to have an episode on this, is because the kitchen should be fun. But I think honestly, where it stems from, at least for myself, is kids are messy.
That's exactly
when they're
what I'm
coming
thinking
into
of.
the kitchen. It is going to cost me more time,
Yeah.
more effort.
It's not efficient.
More
Not
cleanup. And so, to be frank, there's days I just don't want them in there when they're little.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be an everyday thing, right? It could be like I know on Saturday mornings, well, we're having coffee, or name your time, right? It could be during nap time when the younger ones are down. Like that's your time. It could be 10 minutes. It could be 5 minutes. Like when we talked about like just being present and not perfect, right? Like there's no time frame that has to be on it. But I think we don't have to add more to our day to like make it feel like we're working on things. Sometimes it's just our perspective of like, ooh, what did I do there? Or like, how did I include them in it? And maybe it's like, hey, I just want to do one thing at this meal. They could set the table. That's including them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But it doesn't have to be, I think sometimes we need these like really extravagant ideas of this is how we're going to make muffins today. And like you said, it is not realistic to have your toddler next to you the whole entire time.
It doesn't have to be the whole thing. It could just be one or two things that you designate for them. Right?
Yeah, like you're going to mix today. Okay, great. Get their little learning tower up there, like get them mixing. Or like we said, maybe you have a party to go to and you don't want questionable things in the food you're serving your friends that evening. Give them their own stuff.
Right. And I just think of all the learning opportunities here too, even in like when they're really, really little, even then you can just like, okay, we have a cup. This is a cup, or like half a cup. That's half. Like you can start talking about fractions and all sorts of things that maybe it's a little bit, but I mean,
it's real life.
It's real life. And it's something that you just talk through.
Right.
I would love to just brainstorm and share some ideas here that we've used in our own homes. And then Stephanie, like you coming in with that therapist mindset of how this is really helping and interacting with families. I know for something for my kids is my daughter specifically, she's 7 now and she's had this for probably 4 years, but she has one of those like apron sets.
Yeah, we have them too.
So anytime we're cooking and I invite her into, I invite her into the kitchen, sometimes her answer is like, no, thanks now. And I'm like, I'm not going to force you either, because I don't want this to be something you are forming a grudge about. But on the days that you want to help, she's always like, oh, let me get my apron. And she tries to squeeze that hat on that doesn't fit anymore. And it's fun. But those, as well as they make those kids' knives.
Right.
And we had those, and my kids were cutting up veggies or strawberries starting at age 2.
Right.
Which was really, really fun. And I know, Drea, you had some of those as well.
Yeah, we did too. And I mean, even just like, parents listening too, you could just look up like a Montessori type of learning. Like that's something that we really tried to look at. We weren't completely perfect, and that's okay. Don't be perfect about it. But it's just like giving them opportunities with child-sized items or safe items that they can use in the kitchen that helps chop up things.
But even like a plastic like knife that comes in like those mixed sets, until you get something you're more comfortable with or whatnot, like a strawberry, you could for sure cut something like
knives.
that up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, we talk about like that aspect of language, right? We're talking about it. We're bringing that into it too. But like you also have the motor ability. Like they're learning how hard do I have to push down on this knife to get it to cut.
Or what angle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. We're teaching them how to be bigger humans.
Yes.
Right. And maybe you don't want to always be cutting up your kids' food. Like, okay, let's start early. Like they're going to make some big cuts into a strawberry, but they're learning from it. And then the satisfaction of like, I did that.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's pride in that.
Yeah. And I think as you're talking about that, I'm just thinking about the empowering words we can say too, that's not only encouraging them as they're learning, but they're contributing to the family.
Right.
And so I didn't do this until just starting a couple years ago. So my kids were probably, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there. But I would ask them to be the chef and I would be their assistant. And so like
Love
you
that.
said, this cannot happen every night.
No.
We don't have time for that every night. But it would be like one night where I'd be like, okay, after school or after dad's home from work or whatever, we have no plans. So it's fine. Just breathe.
Right.
Everything's going to be fine. But I would tell them, okay, if you're in charge of dinner, you're also in charge of dishes that night.
Yes, it's part of the process.
Right.
And the reason is because I want them to also learn, well, if I pick this bowl, that one doesn't go in the dishwasher and that makes more work for me. Or if I use 13 spatulas instead of one, it creates more work for me.
That's so true.
So just learning from experience on, okay, here's the meal that we're making.
Yeah.
There's also a mess that needs to get cleaned up. And when they're little, obviously you're doing all this together, but as they get older, they can take ownership and they can contribute to the family. Like how empowering is that? To everybody sit down and be like, so-and-so made dinner tonight. Can we all say thank you to so-and-so?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then even like the cleanup part of it, like nobody loves to clean up. I mean, I would love if someone would just come around after me and clean up, but it doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
But like, how can we make that time fun? So maybe we turn on the music and we have a dance party.
Right.
Like, and maybe whoever's actually cleaning the dishes, they get to pick the music that night.
Yeah.
You know, like how are we, because we're empowering the kids. And I love how you talked about like that positive talk of like, hey, like, let's thank, you know, so-and-so because they made dinner tonight. It's also something, hey, when you go to grandparents or you go to friends, you know what? Like, Sophie made this for us last week, or, you know,
just kind of bragging about them a little bit.
I mean, it just like builds their self-confidence. And yes, messes are always a part of eating, like no matter what happens, but what are you okay with, right? How do we give some control to them of being like, and what are our expectations?
Right.
Are you going into it being like, okay, this is going to go smooth the whole entire time? Yikes, right?
Yeah.
But how are we setting ourselves up for success in our head? But then the kids too. Okay, when you talked about like the Montessori concept, right? And even just like active role of participation. Hey, when we spill, here's your rag. Here's a little dish of water for you. Here's some soap you can grab. You know, I mean, maybe we're not using our like favorite organic foaming hand soap to clean things up, but like, where's the dish soap?
Yes.
You know, just thinking about like those ways that they can get involved and having fun.
And also giving them grace too, because they are going to spill something. They are going to mess up.
Yeah.
Don't be losing your mind, because it hopefully you have given the time, if they're going to be in the kitchen, to allow them to make those mess ups.
Put on the shirt that they're going to grow out of in 2 weeks.
Yes. Yep, exactly.
Well, and even on this track, it's like, how can you bring, even if you have a kid who isn't necessarily super interested in being in the kitchen, but you want them to learn these skills. And if you have to be in the kitchen cooking dinner anyway, you want to have that shoulder to shoulder time, right? You want to spend time together. How can we loop them in? I mean, if your kiddo is really into Spider-Man, can they go put on their Spider-Man cape and like figure out, oh, the noodles, we're going to make some spaghetti tonight. And then, you know what? When we make your plate, you should make them into a web. Like, I don't know, just getting creative to come into their world.
Yeah.
And when we talked about like earlier, we talked about like using broccoli as paint, like that is also food play. And thinking about like when you talked about like Spider-Man's in the kitchen tonight, you know, like what's Spider-Man making? And maybe you don't care if it's spaghetti or it's pizza or whatever. Can we give them the choice? Like they're going to choose what's for dinner, or maybe one side. Like, hey, I don't care if we have broccoli or peas. Which one do you want to make?
Yeah, making choices.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Drea, I know one thing that I remember going over to your house and your oldest son would do this is he liked being kind of like the restaurant guy.
Oh, yeah.
This was a fun way to make it fun.
Yeah. And he did this actually kind of recently. He's 11 and I just love it. But he he likes to be the restaurant owner. So it's literally like a play. Like he'll make the menu and he'll have you sit down. He has his little napkin over his arm. It's adorable. I don't know. We've never been to a restaurant with a person with a waiter.
Where
like
are you
that.
going for dinner?
I know. Movie.
I know it's a movie thing or something, but he'll come up and be like, "Hello, ma'am. What would you like to drink first tonight? I have an option of tea, water, or milk." And it's so cute. I know not every kid's gonna want to do that, but even just like. But then me being the parent, I'm playing along. I'm playing with them. And I'm having conversation with them. Excuse me, chef, can I have some extra chocolate chips on that? That yogurt thing that you just gave me. So kind of asking him to be in the kitchen and contributing to that a little bit more is great.
I think that goes into the concept of when we talk about like play-based therapy. Like you don't feel like you're being a therapist in that moment, whether it's feeding therapy, speech therapy, physical therapist, name it, right? What type of therapy, but like you're just being mom and you're having fun with your child and you're being present with them. And it doesn't have to be this forceful, like rigid experience.
Yes.
On that track though, how can we use these playful moments and getting them in the kitchen to help them overcome some of the foods that maybe they have some texture issues with or that they don't currently like the flavor of? So you were just talking about yogurt, Drea. I feel like especially little kids, when they take too big of a bite of something like yogurt or applesauce, it makes them gag like it would with anybody. But let's just say that there's a certain food that they currently have an issue with. How can we use play to help them slowly overcome that?
I had a family recently that like those different textures were just not super great on this little girl's hands. And she really liked those dry, crunchy foods because they weren't messy, right? When we think about getting applesauce on our hands. Yeah. For some kids, that's how they interpret it in their body. And we combined like some of those safe foods of like veggie straws, and we used applesauce as a way to just like on a coloring page.
Oh, nice.
And guess what? The applesauce, she pushed the veggie straw too far into the applesauce and she got some on her hand and she wiped it off on her dress. And it was very calm. Like everybody was just like looking at each other.
Waiting
like,
for.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
But like, that's a great example of, okay, we're taking safety, right? With the veggie straws and we're incorporating it with something that's like not as safe, but it's fun. But we're focusing on just building a little bit of tolerance for that on her hands.
Oh,
well, and you're changing her brain from something that's a threat to now it's just paint.
Right.
But it really is changing the perspective in the back of the brain.
Right. And after it got onto her hands, she went back for more. And that was like, oh my gosh.
You just went through, you just made something.
Yeah, she just like went through it again. But if we were putting applesauce on her hands to be like, we're going to desensitize your hands, she would scream, right? Or like, I'm going to take your hand and I'm going to put it in this puree. That I've had families share that they've tried that because they saw it somewhere on TikTok that you should just do it for your kid. We want to find ways that is motivating for your child to want to participate in it. And I think that goes back to getting that like individualized, personalized like therapy support that you're looking for when you are able to, find resources in the community that are private pay that's tailored to your family. So
how important do you feel like it is that mom and dad are on the same page as the kids when it comes to certain foods? So for example, if we want our kids to eat certain fruits or vegetables, or if a kid has a texture issue with a certain like broccoli, for example, how important is it that they see us eating broccoli, or is that really more of a texture thing? So it really has nothing to do with us.
I meet so many families that make like 3 different meals
in
a night because, hey, this kiddo likes this kiddo doesn't. I don't like this. I don't like that. Always trying to think about like ways of, I had a family do like a waffle party and we had Disney music on and they made waffles, but we had like a buffet of like, we're going to have strawberries and we're going to have chocolate chips and we're going to have different items, but everybody's eating waffles that night, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great option point. Is like a taco bar or a burger bar.
Ice cream sundae bar, and the mom even said then like when she did like the next version, so we did waffles first, then it was ice cream. She had her kids go to the store together and they had to talk about one flavor. She was like, I wasn't buying 3 different flavors.
Right.
The kids had to agree on it. and she let them figure that out together. But I think going back to Brit, like your original question of like, how important is it? Modeling is so important, right? Like, I think it's unreasonable for us to say, I want my kids to be super great at eating fruits and vegetables if that's not something that's typically in your house, or it's not something that they're seeing you eat.
So we talked quite a bit about being in the kitchen and involving our kids. And I don't know, I'm kind of excited for my kids to come home tonight, 'cause we have no plans and somebody's going to be in the kitchen with me tonight. I can guarantee it. But when it comes to actually sitting down and consuming the meal, we talked about positive talk, right? Of encouraging the child that maybe was in the kitchen helping. And I want to just say here, it is okay to focus on spending one-on-one time with the child. If you have multiple kids, if you really want to feel stressed out and you say, who wants to help me in the kitchen? And you have 4 kids say, me.
Whoa.
Good luck with that. Maybe we have a rotation so it can be more one-on-one time and a learning experience and communication. So do it however you need to do it, but I will just give you that permission because I've had to do it in my house. But then when you sit down at the family table, is there anything else that we should focus on in that situation when we're actually eating that's going to help foster these healthy relationships with food? So let's just say that brother was in charge of dinner tonight. He made broccoli. Sister does not like broccoli. What you don't want her saying is looking at brother after we're praising him for helping with dinner tonight or making it. And she's saying things like, this is disgusting. You know, that is not going to be helpful. So from keeping a family relationship and keeping positive outlooks at food, do you have any other tips to finish out this episode with, once you're sitting down as a family at the table, how can we handle that?
I think about like your phrase that you had used like with your kids about like, hey, when they don't like it, like it's a food they don't like right now, right? Reframing that, but then also like building on that, like, what is one thing we can maybe describe about the broccoli? Like, so maybe it's because sister didn't like the broccoli because she doesn't want to eat it, but like maybe we ask her like what it feels like in her hands, or when you squish it, like what are some other ways that we can bring in that involvement that's positive in the sense of we're just describing facts about the broccoli, or hey, where have you seen your friends eating broccoli? Like something around broccoli. But it doesn't have to be all about the taste. Yeah,
and as you're saying that, I'm almost like, what if we are saying something like, well, you didn't like the way I made it last time, but he made it this time, so maybe just try it again. You know, it's almost like it might be different this time. And like we talked about in our last episode, it really takes 10 times of trying something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. I loved these. This was a really fun episode. I think we had a lot of great ideas. I think the bottom line is coming down to patience.
Yes.
And being intentional with maybe just carving out a small piece of time. You guys, it could be once a month. This isn't something that you have to be adding onto your plate, pun intended, I guess, all the time, because we know that we're busy parents and that we only have so much capacity. So approach this with grace, but also I hope you're walking around or away from this feeling really encouraged that the kitchen can be fun, and it doesn't have to be a place where you lose your mind when your kids come into it with you and they want to help you dump the flour. So Stephanie, just to finish out our 4 episodes together, we would just love to hear more about you. So you are doing in-home feeding and speech therapy for these families. We've talked about how your private practice, you will come to them, which is just amazing. What does the future hold for you?
So first, I just want to say thanks for having me on. It has been so fun to just talk about everything that I love about the work that I do. What the future holds, I am really looking forward to adding some therapists to my team to help me out. I think it'd be great if any of our listeners right now have anyone in mind that feel like aligns with how I support families and what that looks like in the home environment, whether it's speech therapists, occupational therapists, and just kind of thinking about broadening my services so that I can continue to service families. Andrea had brought up a great point. When you're driving, throughout your day, it's less time of seeing families, right? Because we got to get to that location. But yeah, that is definitely something that's behind the scenes I'm working towards.
Great. Well, we're excited to see you expand. Yeah. And again, if anybody's listening and you have somebody in mind that could connect with Stephanie, then have them reach out. So whether someone would like to contact you because of something they learned in these episodes, or they just want to ask you a question about their child, or they may have a recommendation on someone that you could connect with professionally, how would they get a hold of you?
So the best way is to reach out on my website, rootedatohomellc.com. There's a contact us section and a little form to fill out, and I would be in touch after that.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.